Love.
Fine. Certainly I can tell you what
Love.
pie is. Love. And properly balanced. What we call sound.
All right, this is going to be a huge episode, so let me cut right to the chase. We're getting political. From election night back in November of 2024, all the way to where we are now in spring of 2025, our country has gone through some pretty major shakeups. We've seen these shakeups manifest at the local level everywhere, including here in my stomping ground of Southern Oregon. My team and I have been very busy covering political events since election night, and this episode is designed to at least attempt to string together a cohesive picture of how our local communities have reacted and responded to the larger forces moving our world. My personal perspectives, and therefore reporting choices, come down to where I left things after producing SOPBS's Energy Horizons series in 2024. That project fully awoke me to the importance of and realities surrounding discussions of climate change and transitioning energy sources. In some ways, this episode of Us As We Are is a continuation of a few story threads started on Energy Horizons, featuring some parallel topics and many of the same characters, but also delving into new topics that have risen to increased prominence in the latest era of American and Oregonian life. We're going to explore the scene at both political parties' election night events, then follow the underdogs as they process their losses and take stock of what's to come. We'll see climate-concerned local activists achieve victory in the city of Ashland after getting a first-of-its-kind pollution ordinance passed, and then go all in on following the protests which eventually emerged in reaction to the policies of the new Trump administration. We'll talk to Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley briefly at his town hall events in Ashland and Grants Pass, and I'll share some written correspondence I've had with Republican Congressman Cliff Bentz. In the end, I can't promise an ending that will satisfy everyone, but what I can promise is that this episode is completely packed to the gills with interesting scoops on what's been going on with some of our region's local political figures, thinkers, and everyday citizens. I'm Keegan Van Hook, and this is Us As We Are.
A new dimension in sound. This is
Love.
my as the record plays.
Love.
My
Us As We Are is made possible in part by the Roundhouse Foundation, a private family foundation that supports creative solutions to the unique challenges associated with rural culture and the landscapes of the Pacific Northwest. Additional funding by the Elizabeth C. Peace Memorial Fund for Education and Social Welfare, and by the members of Southern Oregon PBS. Thank you.
The 2024 election was yet another in a string of elections that had all felt increasingly intense and important. Our production team was totally caught up in it. We all wanted to be somewhere to take it all in and get a pulse on what was happening, so we went all hands on deck and split into two smaller camera teams.
I'll be spending the evening watching the election results come in with the Jackson County Republicans.
And I'm going to do the same with the Jackson County Democrats.
This is Us As We Are.
We have a lot of new volunteers, and you're going to be hearing about them in the months ahead because we're not done. Whatever happens tonight, this party is building to be competitive everywhere in Jackson County.
My name is David Sowers. I am the chair of the Jackson County Democrats, and tonight we are celebrating all the work we put in over the last 2 years getting ready for this important election. Most of it is trying to find volunteers and match them to things that need to be done, whether it's working directly on campaigns or behind the scenes.
Our vice chair, Isabella Lee Tibbetts.
So I'm Isabella Lee Tibbetts. I'm the vice chair of the Jackson County Democrats, and I am here because this is our county party Blue Bash. So as vice chair, I really help support our chair in kind of the vision that we want to see our party take and how best we can do that in engaging our community in general.
Okay, my name is Alan Journet. I am here tonight because I am a precinct committee person with the Jackson County Democratic Party. That is, the central committee for the party is composed of the precinct committee persons. Those of us who have Democratic partisan leanings become precinct committee persons. We have several rural candidates. They are Dylan Guttridge in Senate District 28, Richard Chasm, House District 4, Tracy Thompson in Senate District 2. Those tend to go Republican. Their perspective as Democrats could actually be beneficial to rural voters.
Made the rounds and met a lot of really great people and talked about working class issues. Really excited about single-payer health care and the prospect of seeing that happen here in Oregon. The 7th largest company in the world is an American health insurance company. It makes $14 billion a year in profit. It's called United Healthcare.
Sure, I'm Pam Marsh. I'm currently the state representative for District 5, which is Southern Jackson County. I'm running for re-election as state representative District 5. My district in 2020 was the site of the Almeda fire, and we are really still recovering from that. So my first priority is to follow through with wildfire recovery. Out of wildfire recovery, I've gotten much more engaged in the issues around housing and homelessness. I currently sit as chair of the House Housing and Homelessness Committee. So I'll be doing a lot around our shelter system, trying to stabilize our shelter system, trying to look at the production of more housing across the state because we know it's really at crisis levels. I am also continuing to do work on climate change. So trying to figure out how we continue to make a transition to renewable power.
Hi, Al Muehlhofer. I just won mayor of Phoenix, and I'm really excited about it. I was hoping, and there it was. At 8:01, I looked at the results, and I'd won. Really keep that revitalization going of our downtown. That's the most important thing right now.
Phoenix has a new leadership structure with a new elect mayor. I also think it would be great if we were to see Denise Krause become county commissioner.
We have Denise Krause, who is tenacious, and she will try things that are new and that other people say, well, you shouldn't really do that.
Yes, I am running for Jackson County Commissioner.
You're a director of RVTD, isn't that right?
Right. I have brought up the train issue that we've talked about before and that I was interested in.
Well, so now you're running for the commission again. Why do you want to be on the commission?
So I was volunteering for the animal shelter. The lack of concern that the commissioners were showing over the conditions of the animal shelter and a large community, outpouring of, just begging the commissioners for attention to the animal shelter, and it was just falling on deaf ears. I've become more and more motivated to try to earn a seat on the county commission.
This being an event about county-level politics, the commission race was the biggest thing on folks' minds besides the national election that loomed large over it all. While I was talking to Denise Krause, my friend Lewis was arriving at the equivalent Republican election night party, where he caught up with Denise's competitor, Randy Sparacino.
First, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This is fantastic. I want to thank all of the candidates that are here tonight, and most of you have had a good evening. So I'm Randy Sparacino. I am here as a candidate for Jackson County Commissioner, and this is our watch party for the election tonight. The county commission, the board, is the executive branch of the county. Pass ordinances, resolutions, and do the operational function of the county. I was the chief of police prior to being the mayor, and I was in the military prior to that. Public service has always been a real strong focus of mine. There were 3 key aspects of my campaign, which was public safety, economic development, homelessness, and housing. If you don't have a safe community, none of the other things work. Everyone knows that we have a jail that's desperately in need of expansion. Not just the jail, but the correction system in general, because there's more to it for recidivism than just housing someone in a jail. You want to make sure that you're addressing addiction recovery and mental health as well.
They keep saying we need a bigger jail, and that's going to be like a 76% increase in everyone's taxes, which people can't afford that. And it's never been done. The work has never been done to actually work on the issues that are causing the overcrowded jail. I want to work with the community. I'm somebody who likes to bring community together, bring people in, and come up with, work together. And not only just people who are working in the field, like around homelessness or mental health or addiction, but also people with lived experience.
All right, Lewis, how's the vibe over there?
It's been, I would say, a pretty good vibe.
We talked to, of course, Randy Sparacino.
As well as his son, who's here.
We're here just celebrating what looks like to be a pretty good victory for him here in the county commissioner spot for Jackson County.
We talked to Dave Dotterer.
I'm the outgoing Jackson County Commissioner. Randy is going to be moving into my position. A toast to Randy. I supported him throughout the campaign. We're going to see a continuity within the county.
And Sickler, the sheriff, and also the campaign manager.
My name's Isis Thornton Saunders, and I am the campaign manager for a couple of races here.
About what you'd expect.
People seem to be in pretty good spirits. We got the classic rock booming on the loudspeakers.
I am pushing for a new jail. Hopefully that we can make that happen. Make things run very smoothly and efficiently for all involved, the homeless, the people, the law enforcement officers.
I'm happy for Randy. I think he's going to do a good job as a commissioner. His background prepared him well for this next position.
We take care of public safety. It's the number one responsibility, I believe, of our government. We have almost 1,000 miles of road. We have an extensive park system, but we also have a Health and Human Services Department that has a lot of responsibilities to take care of the needs of the people, particularly when it comes to behavioral health.
My responsibility is to focus on public safety from a sheriff's standpoint, and then of course the commissioner's job is to look over all of the county government. Been able to work really well with our 3 current commissioners and even prior commissioners, so I think Randy's going to fit into that.
Our statistics here, our crime statistics, are very bad. Now, my opponent has had 30 years to deal with this in the way that they deal with it, and it's only gotten worse. My opponent says he wants to keep our communities safe. Well, he was the chief of police. That's the perfect job if you want to keep our communities safe. We don't really need law enforcement in the county commission. We need somebody who can deal with health and human services. It's a tough county to win in. You know, I would love to run as nonpartisan because I think that the county commission should be a nonpartisan position. These local issues have nothing to do with partisan politics.
We obviously have a pretty unprecedented election here with Kamala and Trump, so we had to really account for that in our numbers that we're looking at.
By the time Lewis got to the party, the race was already looking pretty certain for Randy's victory. Since Randy was the mayor of Medford, Southern Oregon's largest city, the position of mayor was left open. To fill us in on the Medford election, I found Kevin Stein, who serves on the Medford City Council.
The national races get so much attention. That's where all the money is, and that's where a lot of eyeballs go. But these local races are so important, right? Because this is the day-to-day life. Mike Zarzynski is a former city councilor that I served with for 8 years, and he has about 42% of the vote in a 4-person race. So it looks like he's going to be our next mayor. I know Mike very well because I served with him for 8 years. He's a very level-headed person. He has the potential to do a really good job. He's not the most dynamic person, but he's super intelligent. He's an engineer by trade. He understands policy. And I think as far as the advocate role, he has the potential to do a really good job.
Jackson County has 11 different cities that you're going to have to ensure that you're representing them well. So it's going to be much broader, a much bigger 30,000-foot view of getting work done. And everyone from United Strategies, I also want to thank Isis, who did a fantastic job coordinating the campaign.
I only support candidates that I actually believe in. It's a lot of organization and really getting to know your candidate. You need to know the tone of voice, you need to know the priorities, messaging is polling, and it's being adaptable.
Enjoy yourselves, and let's celebrate.
But yeah, it seems like generally people are pretty happy with what they're seeing.
Over here, it's a mixed bag. There's been some victories, like the mayor of Phoenix, as I mentioned. You know, Denise Krause, it isn't looking good. She's not winning, but I believe it's by less of a margin than the last time around.
This process takes time to learn. And you have to be tenacious and not let a disappointment and a defeat stop you.
I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I'm really stoked to have walked away with 31% of the vote. I'm going to keep building on that over the next 4 years, talking to working people and trying to build up a base here that really hopefully speaks to the working class.
What is your motivation here? Like, why do you want to be so involved in something like this? What got you into it?
Donald Trump. I was a smug ex-Democrat. Like a lot of Democrats, I had complaints about my party. I still do. Once things started going downhill with our democracy, that was just something I couldn't live with without doing something about it. And by then, my quarrels with the party seemed trivial.
People can be ethical and be in elected positions, and that's the kind of people that we need.
Well, right now I'm pretty anxious on the national race. I'm optimistic. In my race, I have a district that's pretty solid blue district.
Well, I think we're all anxious about everything. I think that no matter where you are on the side of it, it's just going to be different tomorrow. I and my campaign and my team and my volunteers have done an amazing job.
We've already survived a Trump presidency. I don't know if I could personally handle another one.
Oh, they also have kittens here, like to help people with their anxiety over the election results. Oh my gosh, you're feeding one. That is so cute.
This one just came to us today, and it doesn't like this new formula. You know, it's used to mama's milk, not this milk.
The worst form of government is democracy, except for all the others.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye now.
We have not been seeing any anxiety animals here at the Republican get-together. Also, we have not been seeing a lot of anxiety here, to be fair. So it's been pretty good.
In the days leading up to election night, many of us around America had heard a lot of commentary about how we wouldn't be able to call the election until days after the counting started. But in reality, the numbers became clear rather quickly. Donald Trump won back the presidency by a surprising margin in the electoral count. Now, during the production of Energy Horizons, I learned a lot about what a big impact on climate change the Biden administration had through legislation like the Inflation Reduction Act, and knew that under Trump, energy and environmental policy was bound for some big changes.
It is incredibly depressing from the perspective of meaningful action on the climate. We absolutely have to get off fossil fuels, and we have to find ways to promote renewable energy.
A few weeks after the election, Southern Oregon Climate Action Now had its monthly meeting, with an agenda set to discuss the fallouts expected from the election results. Now, SOCAN is a totally separate, nonpartisan 501c3 nonprofit organization, but the fact is, a lot of the people in their orbit overlap with the local Democratic Party. In many ways, this was a gathering of the underdogs from the election, but served its purpose as an incredibly insightful look at what was to come, not just in terms of national climate policy, but also local, grassroots-level climate action.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Scott, and I'm the Executive Director of SOCAN, and this is the biggest crowd we've had in a while, so thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you.
Tonight is our general meeting, so we do this once a month. It's always related to climate in some way or another, so some previous ones we've done mental health and agriculture, we've done offshore wind. Those are the usual topics that we're after.
Well, the first thing we have to do is recognize that with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, the Biden-Harris administration actually turned out to be one of the most, if not the most, climate-friendly administrations on record. Donald Trump's push to drill, deregulate, and destroy environmental safeguards threatens to move climate progress back decades. We have to promote state, local, and private climate leadership. States have always had a substantial role to play in addressing the climate crisis. This is, of course, going to be even more important now and is possible in Oregon, as we will hear from Rep. Marsh in just a few moments.
So the election was not the election that we wanted to see. I was elected first in 2016. And what we did during that next 4 years, 2 cycles in the legislative world, was to play defense. We figured out how to try to counter as best we could the repressive policies that were coming from the federal level. But I want to tell you, the last 4 years, when we didn't have to fight the federal government, have been much more fun. When we could actually just dive in and do the work in Oregon and not worry about attacks from the federal government. So now, 2024 feels like 2016, except we have a better idea of what might be coming, and it's back to playing defense. The fact is, there will be many distractions because... May I have your attention, please? And you have to keep focusing. You have to keep focusing when the distractions come forward. Again, I just can't thank you enough for showing up and for maintaining the focus and the passion that you have for all of this.
We can't wait until we get a seat on the commission. We actually have the power. Those people report to us. If we start taking action and start taking things into our own hands, county, they don't want us to do that. They want to be in charge and in control, so they start to do things. The animal shelter is an example. Nothing was happening. Nothing was happening with the animal shelter. We were so frustrated. And then we start saying, we're going to do the work. We're going to get an animal shelter. We're going to do this. And now all of a sudden at the meeting Thursday, Danny comes like, we got a plan for an animal shelter.
So a lot of people I've seen since the election are ready to do something. So I'd like to encourage you to think about taking action in our valley.
I would suggest that anyone in this room look up the app 5 Calls. It gives you different topics, right? So it could be climate action, it can be this bill, and then it'll go down and it'll tell you who to call.
Can we give one last round of applause for our speakers?
Right now, it feels like bleak times for climate activists. But there was recently one major local victory in this realm that's worth talking about over in Ashland, where young activists with the Rogue Climate Action Team were on the verge of getting their carbon pollution impact fee ordinance passed.
No more coal, no more oil, keep your carbon in the soil.
Hi, I'm Jess Grady-Benson. I'm the organizing director at Rogue Climate, and tonight we are anticipating the second reading and final vote for the carbon pollution impact fee. And this is the culmination of 2 years of organizing work led by Ashland youth and supported by Rogue Valley community members to pass policy to incentivize new homes to be built without gas and transition towards efficient electric building.
Pretty soon after showing up to this rally, we ran into Jim Hartman, who we talked to on Energy Horizons about the Ashland Solar Co-op Community Solar Project. Since the premiere of Energy Horizons, the co-op was able to complete construction of their first array.
The one on top of the city council building is dead and old, and then you can see the strikers there. Yep. So that was a big project. They got $1 million grant, and they've got batteries and stuff for that.
Yeah, we covered the installation of that.
Yeah, and the distance is our system.
Okay, gotcha. So that's the Ashland Solar Co-op.
Right, that is the Ashland Solar Co-op. $265,000 project, enough for like 20 homes. We got a bunch of grants, and honestly, we're a little bit worried that we won't get our grants because of Trump.
How you feeling about winning this campaign tonight? We're gonna bring this energy into that dry council meeting.
Rogue Climate Action Team began organizing around the 2017 Climate and Clean Energy Action Plan for Ashland. So there's been really in-depth community engagement, numerous city council meetings, and finally city staff have brought forward this carbon and pollution impact fee as one of the policies that we've been proposing for the last 2 years. So we're really excited and hopeful that it's going to pass tonight.
Look who's here.
My name is Piper Banks. I'm a senior at Ashland High School, and I am here to fight for climate justice. I've been involved in this campaign for the past 2 years, just freshly a sophomore when this all began, so feeling very full circle. Super happy to be here tonight.
Our future, get off it! This planet's not for profit!
Why are electric appliances a good thing?
They're super efficient, much more efficient than gas appliances. They last longer. It's a lot cheaper, especially as Avista continues to raise their rates. Especially in Ashland, we have a really amazing electric program, and it ends up being quite a bit cheaper as well as safer, of course, within our communities.
It's very clear that climate change is already impacting the Rogue Valley. The Alameda fire burned down our office at Rogue Climate and has impacted numerous community members who are still trying to rebuild or are still displaced.
Chapter 9.45, Carbon Pollution Impact Fee and establishing standards for a carbon pollution impact fee for new residential structures in the city of Ashland. We have a number of people who have signed up this evening to speak, nearly 40. We don't allow cheering or making noises in response to what somebody says. It is okay for you to do this.
This policy helps make housing more affordable by encouraging the most cost-effective construction methods.
We can no longer justify prolonging the use of gas in new construction when there are more viable, sustainable, cost-effective, and healthier alternatives ready.
Don't allow yourselves to be fooled by the misinformation orchestrated against this policy and therefore our planet.
You dealt with any challenges getting to this point?
Absolutely. Actually, in the last couple of weeks, we have found that the fossil fuel industry's misinformation campaigns have been rapidly growing. Just in the last couple of weeks, they have sent out calls, text messages, all fueled by fossil fuel industry misinformation through a front group called Northwest Coalition for Energy Choice.
There may be some people showing up in opposition to us tonight.
justice.
That's just a sign of how much community power we've built.
But I'll just say that there are consequences in the adoption of the carbon impact fee that we could discuss at length. I would encourage you to vote no on the ordinance at this time.
You guys could be right, or you guys could be wrong. I think I'm just here to state my opinion and let you guys know I think it's a bad idea.
That local government may not require someone to give up or pay more than is necessary to mitigate harms resulting from development.
This ordinance will have zero impact on the climate. It is nothing more than an attempt to use Ashland to virtue signal in the global climate debate regarding climate change.
You're not going to stop the CO2, and it's not what's causing the climate change. It's geoengineering of our climate plus natural changes, okay?
Last Sunday morning, the electricity went off in North Ashland, where I live. I have a gas furnace, and the heat also went off. The little thermostat and the fans, you see, all run on electricity. So, no electricity, no heat. My experience is clearly evidence that Avista's claim that gas customers can continue to cook and heat their homes when their power is out is not true.
I think we will have a good result tonight. We're also really excited to demonstrate the community power we've built over the last 2 years, and the youth leaders are going to be unveiling a really exciting petition delivery during their testimony tonight.
If you are currently rent or own, or if you own a business or own the property of a business, this ordinance does not apply to you. If you are replacing any appliance and making any repair to your home, this ordinance does not apply to you.
In the last few days, I responded to dozens of virtually identical emails from Ashland residents activated by robotexts and emails from a gas industry lobby.
The transition to decarbonization is underway, and this is a step in the right direction.
First, I would like to give my appreciation to the youth of Rogue Action Climate, the resilience of our future.
I've gone through quite a few stages of life within the past couple of years, and this has been a constant. So it's been really interesting to grow throughout this process. I've learned absolutely so much on so many different levels when it comes to community organizing, education.
Piper and I joined together. I was a sophomore as well. I've gotten to learn what government is like and how to draft policy.
And so you're in your senior year now.
Yes.
What's next for you after high school?
Yeah, planning on going to college, perhaps on the East Coast, and I am interested in pursuing law, specifically around climate justice.
We see this as definitely not a silver bullet solution, but something that can really set an example for the rest of the state as many communities are exploring possible policies to transition away from gas. And we really hope that this climate action in Ashland has a big ripple effect here and beyond.
While a solution in Ashland is not sufficient by itself, a solution without our communities doing what they can is not possible. If there is no additional discussion, roll call please, Alyssa.
Kaplan?
Yes.
Duquesne?
Yes.
Hansen?
Yes.
Nauer?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Bloom?
Yes.
Thank you, and we move on now. If you can all exit quietly so we can continue with our business. Thank you.
Okay, we can graduate now. What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now!
But while it was a momentary high for local climate action, the broader picture across the country for folks concerned about environmental issues and a whole host of other social justice causes was increasingly tumultuous, as the president issued numerous executive orders week after week, transforming the shape of the federal government. By February, the protesting started in earnest. The first major protest I personally witnessed in Southern Oregon was as I drove through downtown Ashland in late February. Later in March, while Tripp and I were on our way back from lunch in downtown Medford, we came across this even larger protest in Vogel Plaza.
I'm Delilah Cruz here with 5051 organization, and I'm here today to protest against Musk and Trump and fight for our rights.
I'm pretty appalled by what's happening in Washington, and I'm also really disappointed in our local representative, Cliff Bentz.
I'm an immigrant to this country, and I came here years ago because the United States was seeking a more perfect union, and that has broken down with this presidency.
My name is Sam. I'm with the Rogue Valley Pepper Shakers. I've been doing that for a number of years. A lot of people are here because they are really upset about what's happening in our country. There's a lot of fascism being implemented here more than it's ever been. Our rights being taken away for trans people, for women.
I don't understand why people don't see what's happening. Read the Fascist Handbook and see what's going on. It's a playbook.
I've been so disappointed and upset by what Trump has been doing.
When Trump got elected, I was out here, I was holding signs. I do not like the guy. I think he's a dick.
If you want to look for fraud and waste, you do it in a much different way that also respects people and lives and the good work that's being done. It's destroying families, and it's just indiscriminate axing by people who don't know what they're doing. I'm worried about the Department of Education, forests, and our fire prevention. In a very short time, this is already affecting us locally in a very big way.
I have friends and colleagues who were let go from the federal government, and so I'm pretty outraged about that. We're losing amazing expertise and knowledge in federal government and federal agencies. We're all really worried about fire season.
It's never good when you put somebody who has absolutely no respect or empathy for people in charge of people. So there goes my sign, bullies have no place in the White House.
Well, Elon Musk is an unelected billionaire. He seems to have a lot of control with what he's doing at Doge.
Elon Musk is emboldening fascist regimes. He may not have the same governmental power as people in our government, but he's doing things that are emboldening people in order to create more fascism in our country.
I know he's having a lot of kids, so you always want your kid to do in a positive environment. Go walk through Hawthorne Park and look at all these kids out there that are strung out on fentanyl. And who do you think brought that fentanyl in, is letting that in here to give to our kids? It's not China. It's not Mexico. It's our government doing that.
That is a humongous airplane. I just have to comment on that.
I served this country for 20 years in the Air Force, and I was a pilot there, and so I was serving a lot this country. FAA is another thing that I'm concerned about too, because they're the ones that implement all of the procedures, regulations, whatnot. I'm just feeling like it's going to be unsafe in the future.
My grandparents fought in the wars to save democracy. People died to save democracy. And now we have one man, essentially, maybe two or three, dissolving it before our eyes.
Especially with the tweet that Trump just sent this morning about illegal protests. That's against our First Amendment right.
Universities have been told to expel college students that stand up and protest.
We heard this morning that the U.S. is halting all aid to Ukraine, and I'm pretty disgusted with that.
We were the helpful nation. We were the powerful nation that people respected, and I'm seeing that fall apart before my very eyes.
This is the first time Kathy and I have been out, and we have been feeling guilty because we haven't been out to stand up and be counted before today.
Everyone has to start somewhere. This needs to be a starting point for people, and we need to make this something that launches something larger so we can make things better for people in our community. Me and Torin with the Pepper Shakers, we started standing on the side of the road, holding signs, being really angry about the state of the world, and that led to us meeting people out here who had similar, angers, similar views, and we as a collective decided, there's things in our community we can change.
No matter who the person is and how much I dislike them, if I am around them a little bit, you kind of find common ground. We need to overthrow this government that we've been living under for so long because the two-party system doesn't work.
They're going to collapse under their own weight of ignorance.
I am so totally irritated by the lack of interest on the part of this administration and the entire Republican Party in science. It's just a total rejection.
And we're going to run out of fossil fuel. I'm an ex-racer, motorcycles and cars. I like speed. We have to have renewable energy. If we run out of oil, then we're going to be at the mercy of the countries that have it.
I'm really hopeful and encouraged by turnouts like this. I'm really excited. I feel energized. I think a lot of people feel energized.
We have to keep the pressure up and do what we can, like the French Resistance.
Unfortunately, it's going to have to hurt people where they are before they're willing to see what's really going on. What happened in Jackson County is that there were over 7,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. But we really need it to be for the good of Jackson County and the people who live here. We need it to be nonpartisan so that we can work together and make this a better place for everybody to live.
Speaking of Jackson County, I was curious what the Board of Commissioners may have been up to in the time since Lewis talked to Randy Sparacino on election night. Randy is the newest commissioner, while Rick Dyer's been there since 2022, and Colleen Roberts has been there since 2015, now serving as chair. Really, besides regular commission business stuff, like annexation approvals, contract authorizations, state and federal legislative updates, levy discussions, annual reports, and a supplemental budget approval, there hasn't been anything too major to discuss from the Board of Commissioners. The two most interesting things possibly worth noting is discussion of the Lone Pine to Whetstone 230 kilovolt transmission line project, which actually appears to have been withdrawn, and then a grant agreement to get the sheriff a new tactical robot. A few days after these protests, Senator Jeff Merkley made a stop in southern Oregon to hold town hall meetings in Jackson and Josephine counties.
Is President Trump a Russian asset?
Recently, Merkley has been making a strong stand in opposition to the Trump administration and Republican actions.
What else could a Russian asset actually possibly do that Trump hasn't yet done?
In Ashland, over 1,000 people packed the gymnasium at Ashland High School.
The shimmer of sweat.
Yeah, I know, it's super hot in here.
Thank you so much for being engaged citizens.
And later in the day, a crowd of a few hundred showed up at Rogue Community College in Grants Pass.
Jeff has been called the Roots and Boots Senator because of his deep Oregon roots and his boots on the ground, traveling to meet with Oregonians in every corner of the state.
I do a town hall in every county every year. Well, it's a forum in which I listen to what people have to say. I give very limited introductory comments, give everyone a chance to raise questions, and it just adds up to the ability to hear from people in every corner of the state about the issues that are affecting their lives, what they're concerned and worried about, or what their hopes are.
Merkley honored the Lomacotzi Restoration Project in Ashland and the Illinois Valley Fire District in Grants Pass. What kind of issues are people raising to you at these events?
Well, right now it almost universally is about President Trump and the actions since he was inaugurated.
A law is not a suggestion, and a president is not a king.
The impact on our foreign affairs, Ukraine and NATO, and the end of international economic assistance, our soft power in the world, where we help with food and medicine around the world.
Yes, absolutely, we should be concerned. We need to use our security forces to defend our values, to stand up for human rights.
Also, the bills passing through that give Trump more power, like this last Friday night.
I fiercely opposed what happened on Friday.
Just a lot of concern about education and healthcare and housing and the economy.
I want to thank you for having the backbone to come speak to people today.
Cutting our BLM workers, cutting our Forest Service workers, cutting our national park workers, and also holding up the funding for prescribed burns and thinning of the forest that help makes the forest a better ecosystem and more resilient to fire. So there are a lot of concerns about forest policy right now.
Join an affinity group. By yourself, it is dark and depressing, all this going on.
People are feeling high anxiety about the future of the country. It isn't just over policies, healthcare, housing. It is about whether the checks and balances, the separation of powers, the constitutional framework that is the heart and essence of our republic is being damaged, and whether we can save it.
My interview with Senator Merkley took place in Grants Pass, where in a recent episode, our team followed the situation surrounding the Josephine Community Library potentially losing its building lease.
I love libraries, and they were really a big incentive for me to learn to read when I was small, because there'd always be some kind of summer reading program. Of course, the tactics have changed, but the role of libraries in helping fill the summer and helping encourage reading and then helping provide for research and internet access for people who don't have it, no, it's a really big role. I have heard about what's going on here with the friction between the county commission and the library board, yes. I'm not sure why it became a focal point of disagreement between the two, but I certainly do embrace the basic mission of libraries to have a population that learns to read and gets educated.
Get your friends, go off for a weekend, disconnect from the news, disconnect from your cell phone, and go experience what we have, which is the most incredible paradise to be found on the entire planet, right here in Oregon. God bless you all. See you all.
I just love that people are coming out to the town hall in record numbers and being engaged. I think republics can die when you have an acquiescent legislature, acquiescent court, and something that can push back on that is people saying, no, we want to save our republic.
The energy around this idea was intensifying. In April, a day of protest dubbed the Hands Off movement brought Americans into the streets in communities all over the country, including over 40 protests right here in Oregon. Medford, for instance, had what is definitely the largest protest I've personally seen in this region since the Black Lives Matter demonstrations in 2020.
We're all Oregonians from all walks of life, all ages and races, and we're here to participate in the Hands Off National Day of Action because our representatives are not representing us.
Our big job right now is to keep people safe on the sidewalks and off the street, but to be able to exercise their constitutional rights of pushing back.
And I'm coming here to just raise hell.
This could be the end of America, and we need to come back from this, and you and me and everybody else here.
Tariffs are a big problem because it's tanking our entire economy. Blocking USAID is destroying farmers throughout the Midwest. I think throwing people in black cars and taking them to an undetermined location is really problematic.
I just hope Social Security can be saved. My son has cancer. That's why he's staying with me for treatment.
The Rogue Valley is full of retired folks, people with, on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security.
Our 401ks are tanking. We're losing our retirement, and we are pissed. We are pissed.
Medford, not necessarily the bluest place in the world, is completely blue today.
I think our legislator is abdicating their power of the purse.
This idea of expansionism in the world to take over Greenland, the Panama Canal.
Freedom is not free. We have to pay for it. We have to fight for it.
So my name is Bella Payne, and what brings me here today is that I want freedom for our country.
Where do you primarily hear about politics? Where do you learn about it?
I learned about it from my parents.
My name's Jennifer Payne. I work in wildfire education, and my EPA grant was just terminated, and so I'm here for that reason and to teach my daughter what it means to be a democratic citizen and to fight against fascism.
When we stand together, we have power.
I'm Bella's father. My name's Greg Payne, and I've worked with Jennifer in wildfire education. Is a really important thing all across the West right now.
Well, first of all, our funds just disappeared with no explanation. We could simply not access them. Then we received a letter that our funding was terminated on March 26th as of that day.
We need to save beautiful spaces. We need to save people. We need to support people who can't support themselves.
And LGBTQ communities are losing representation and being discriminated against.
I mean, this is a non-exclusive list. I didn't put immigration, I didn't put parks, because I can't. You can't, because he's going to keep doing things.
There's no rhyme or reason to it. Some of it is just cruel.
Golly, we got to stand up for democracy. As the song says, Trump has got to go. Hey ho, hey ho. Well, I've been in jail twice before, blocking the gates at Lawrence Livermore Lab on Mother's Day, 1982.
Is it true that you're 102 years old?
My birthday is 9/1/1922. Last time I tried to fly, they had me down as a 3-month-old baby. They put me down as 2022.
Okay, Charlie, I think you're very familiar to some of our viewers, but go ahead and introduce yourself and then tell me what brings you here today.
My name is Charlie Hall, and I'm a scientist, an energy scientist. Oil production is flat since he's been in, and it's highest under Biden than it's ever been. And so if oil production is flat, then it's certainly going to become more expensive because we're going to have to drill poorer resources to get the next batch. We're reaching near the end of our best shale resources, our fracked oil, which is now producing the majority of our oil. And meanwhile, it's really stupid to undo the really good program that Biden started. It makes no sense at all.
Fear for the future. The slush fund is not melting, only the glaciers.
Jackson County has turned up.
I think there's 10,000 signs and 10,000 different reasons to be here.
And the VA has been great for me. I don't know what we would do without the VA.
I have been photographing political events in Rogue Valley ever since Trump became a president first time. It's my contribution to upholding democracy, and at this time it's a fight against fascism. I'm a second-generation Holocaust survivor from Czechoslovakia. I experienced the Russian tanks rolling into Prague. Everybody is made into an enemy unless they agree with, the orange power up there. And people are afraid.
My name is Alexandra, and I am here as a medic for the 50-51 movement and protest. I got sunscreen, Band-Aids, masks, a whole bunch of cough drops. We got a bunch of water, period products, ace bandages, anything you could think of.
And so what brings you here today?
Well, I was told I would get $50. Kevin Stein has mentioned it, $50 to show up.
Okay, so I debated whether I should include this guy in the show or not, but because he was seen by a lot of people in attendance, and I figure a lot of those people are watching this now, yeah, here he is.
Who's going to pay me?
Interesting. I have no idea who's going to pay you.
I don't even really know what we're protesting, but $50 is $50, right?
I have to ask, have you heard of the phenomenon of, paid protesters before?
Yeah, I've done it before.
You have?
Yeah, gone up to Portland, done it before, yeah.
Interesting.
Salem, yeah.
Who's paid you in the past?
Just cash. We just have a group of us. I don't know if I don't want to go too much into it, but yeah.
As protests against the Trump administration have grown in the United States, there's been an emerging narrative among Trump supporters that many protest attendees are some kind of paid actors meant to increase crowd sizes. I actually asked Kevin Stein about this situation, and he said, if I had money to burn, I would find someone more interesting to give it to, rather than a guy with a mask on, and goes on to suggest the guy was trolling, which was an assertion made by other protesters as well. Do you have any thoughts about the whole political situation?
I think it's just, for lack of I hate to use a dirt word, but it's probably just in the hot wind, man.
One thing I can say for sure, as an observer on the ground, is that the thousands of random people, including children, retirees, and numerous characters familiar to me personally, were not, as a whole, a group of paid protesters. Throughout several of the events we shot for this episode, the name of Congressman Cliff Bentz came up many times.
The person that we're having trouble with is our own Representative Cliff Bentz, who refuses to meet with us in person and comes to Medford but won't hold a town hall or meet with us in person.
We're calling Cliff Bentz every day to tell him what we expect from him. We expect him to represent us, the people, and not the interests of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and other billionaires.
They say he's going to do a town hall in every county. There's none on the schedule right now.
Absolutely invite your House member to come here and stand right where I'm standing. I'm sure Cliff would love to come here and answer questions.
I've talked to Cliff. He's at least answered me and let me know what was going on, but I wish he would stand up a little bit more.
This is the time, frankly, to get Cliff Bentz out of office. He doesn't do anything anyway. He's dead weight.
Yeah, Cliff has been very disappointing, especially with canceling the town hall meetings.
Then there's Cliff Bentz, the Republican who represents the 2nd Congressional District, who is worthless.
Look at this turnout. These are all people who would vote for somebody different than him.
So I was hoping to do an interview with Cliff Bentz himself to talk about some of these things that people have said about him at the protests we've covered, and we tried to arrange it, but due to a scheduling conflict, we weren't able to actually get it done. But instead, Cliff Bentz actually wrote me a written response to a lot of the questions that I had. So I asked Cliff Bentz what are his legislative priorities right now. To help make Medicaid, a federal program for the disadvantaged, sustainable. To help pass the Fix Our Forest Act. To help protect millions of acres of the sagebrush steppe in Malheur County, sometimes referred to as the Oahe Canyon lands for future generations. So, of course, Trump's tariff policies have been a big thing on the mind of a lot of people throughout the country. The U.S. has become wildly dependent on other countries for essential things such as computer chips, rare earth minerals, and a veritable multitude of different products. Yes, I support the president's efforts thus far, through tariffs, to bring this nation back to some semblance of self-sufficiency. At the protests, there was a lot of people out there either organizing with or there at the invitation of ORD2 Indivisible. The Indivisible group has repeatedly picketed my Medford office. He then goes on to talk about how there was like a pro-Palestinian, quote, dead baby event.
Cliff Bentz, you can't hide, you're supporting genocide. Cliff Bentz.
Where they followed him through Medford and used stuffed pillows soaked with red paint that looked like babies, coordinated rude and shrill participation at many of his recent town halls.
Representative Cliff Bentz, we find you guilty of aiding the genocide What would you do during a genocide? What do you think you would be doing during the Holocaust?
They've sent hundreds of letters to his office, constantly expressing their displeasure with his votes. They've called his office numerous times, done its best to exercise its constitutional right to be loud and unfortunately obnoxious presence in an area where its positions are clearly the minority view. I am and have been aware of the Ashland chapter of Indivisible's participation in the nationwide, ultra-liberal, anti-Trump, Soros-supported Indivisible organization. They have a right to campaign and vote against his re-election. That's how America works. So environmental policy has been another thing that got brought up a bunch during these protests. There was a recent executive order which potentially takes away some of the ability of a state to make its own environmental, climate, and energy regulations. Given the nature of environment, it can be difficult to determine where authority begins and ends. It's my opinion that the states should take the lead in setting their environmental policy. I prefer local control over federal because local laws generally give people greater opportunity to be heard. But he does clarify that if a state engages in excessive regulation of its people under the guise of protecting the environment, and in doing so interferes with property rights and violates the Constitution's protections of commerce, then that's when the federal government should potentially act. I think that many of the president's executive orders push the legal and constitutional envelope and will be challenged in court. So I went on to ask where Cliff stands on and whether or not Congress should retain sort of the full power of the purse. It's my understanding, gained in speaking with the executive branch, that the president, as the law requires, will soon be asking Congress to enact a rescission bill. One of the most consistent frustrations expressed at the protests was this idea that Cliff Bentz doesn't particularly engage with the public. Those that say I am difficult to engage with are probably unhappy that I have not yet this year held a live town hall in Medford. They choose to ignore the annual live town halls I've held each year for the past 4 years in both Medford and Grants Pass, usually in the summer or fall. And they have a telephone town hall planned for the Medford area in the next couple of weeks. I decided not to hold live town halls for the next few months because after holding 4 live town halls just a few weeks ago, I realized that those attending were more interested in staging protests than engaging in a civil exchange of ideas or discussing differences of opinion on the issues.
People here most of their questions have to do with President Trump, not me. What I'm getting at here is, if I am here to try to speak with you, then you guys in turn should try to speak with me.
I have no inclination whatsoever to assist those who seek to use town halls as a platform for misinformation and display of overt rudeness. I asked Cliff kind of what my typical question is when I get to interview politicians like him, what he sees the future as being like, what he thinks of the current politically divided era that we're living through. Does he see reasons for optimism about the future? Of course I'm optimistic. Fuel prices are down, the border is secure, supply chains are being reconstructed so that America is less vulnerable to foreign nation extortion. He talks about regulations being removed, which will increase productivity, bloated government payrolls are being reduced, programs such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are being protected. Artificial intelligence, one of the most important creations in human history, is being supported and encouraged. The best reason for optimism is that we're actually trying to fix these problems, and that means now, not some never-arriving tomorrow. Thank you, Congressman Bentz, for writing in. What can I say to wrap this episode up? It's not like any of the story threads featured here are concluded. Even the victory for Rogue Climate in Ashland is shaken after Trump's executive order protecting American energy from state overreach. Political life continues to feel as though it's heating up as we enter the summer months. That first protest we covered in Vogel Plaza back in March turned into an every Tuesday thing, albeit with a smaller group. As of my recording this, just last week, one of the protesters ended up getting punched in the face. Police got involved, and suddenly, I felt like we'd gone back to 2020's atmosphere of anxiety and violence.
Hey, yo, what are you doing? Go home!
A water bottle just got thrown.
Well, I mean, they make people move, right? And this is a movement, and it makes them move.
People think that folks don't have a voice. The power of one person is absolutely incredible. And when we gather like this, it makes a difference.
I'm feeling enthused that We got a big turnout.
We stand with the U.S. We stand with our people. We stand with your people. We stand with the world.
You know, we got to have a change. We cannot continue the way we are now. We're destined for extinction at this rate.
We're all neighbors, we're all Americans, and we all have to work together. We shouldn't accept any kind of divisions in our society.
Thank you, Pam. Really appreciate it. Love talking to you. David, thank you so much. Appreciate the time. Isabella, thank you so much for the time. Great talking to you again.
Yeah, you too.
What's your name?
I'm Keegan.
Keegan, I've heard of you.
I got parties to go to.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Keegan.
Congratulations. Kevin, really good talking to you.
Take care.
Always good talking to you.
I want to thank you for talking to us tonight.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here and thanks for covering this. Thank you for talking to us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
I want to thank you for talking with us.
Take care.
Thanks for the conversation. It's good to meet you, Piper,
Thank
once
you
again.
so
Really good talking to you.
much.
Yes, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much.
People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down.
Thank you, Amelia. It was good to meet you. All right, Gary, I appreciate the conversation.
Ladies call me coffee because I grind so fine.
We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter.
It's really good to meet you. I appreciate you pulling us over, having the conversation. Jan, really good to meet you.
What's your name?
I'm Keegan. Good to meet you. Appreciate the conversation.
Hear the voice of my great-granddaughter. Say climate justice now.
All right, we might have to run from the rain here, but it was good talking to you, Denise.
I really encourage people that both are coming out to this or watching this to do more, come out to these events, talk to people.
Senator Merkley, thank you for the conversation. Really appreciate it. Glad we caught you in time.
I need to get back to just doing a couple of things.
Of course.
All right.
Annette, thank you so much. I appreciate the conversation.
I encourage you to talk to at least one person you've never met before. Go out to a feed at a park. Go to the library.
Good to meet you, David.
What's your name?
I'm Keegan.
Blessings to you, and blessings to our country, and blessings to everyone.
Thanks so much, Charlie.
Speak to a homeless person on the side of the road. Learn their stories.
All right, man. Hey, it was good to talk to you.
God bless you guys.
Absolutely. Bella Payne, it's really good to meet you.
Thank you. Good job, Bella Payne.
Hey, it was really good to meet you guys.
Yeah,
And
what's
Bella,
your
too.
name?
I'm Keegan.
There's so many wonderful people here, and you never know what you can do with your community until you try.
Sam, it's always good talking to you. Yeah, you as well. You're a great interview.
Thank you for what you do.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know what?
And your cameraman.
This is Trip.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate the conversation. Absolutely. Always a pleasure talking to you. Appreciate it.
Have a good day, guys.
You
Be
as
safe
well.
out there.
Good to talk to you again. I appreciate it. Dasha, thank you so much.
So much. Okay, give me a card.
Hey, I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, dude.
People gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying climate justice now.
I tell you, the secret to good, long life, eat your greens and move your body every day and have a good attitude, good friends, and do something that matters. Don't just sit in front of TV. I don't even have TV. I don't have a cell phone. And my life is good. Adios. Blessings on us all.
And this is Us As We Are.
Us As We Are is made possible in part by the Roundhouse Foundation, a private family foundation that supports creative solutions to the unique challenges associated with rural culture and the landscapes of the Pacific Northwest. Additional funding by the Elizabeth C. Peace Memorial Fund for Education and Social Welfare, and by the members of Southern Oregon PBS. Thank you.
Are there more? Are there more? Are there more? Are there more?